because he always is that attacking when like defenders, I think, it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on.
Thank you very much for that, Ian. Right, I could take it from here. People deluded, I'm back again. Please do me a favor and smash the like button. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. I hope you're doing well and safe. I hope you're all blessed. Now, obviously, I've just been on Google, just looking at latest Arsenal news, as I'm sure you're all obsessed with the football club. Do smash the like button, comment, subscribe. Let's actually see what's going on in the world of Arsenal, actually, or the Daily Mail. I've seen they've dropped a new article. The dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. Signing these players is another thing. Nothing is going to happen until probably a few weeks to months, at least on the forefront to us fans, where signing players and whatnot. In the background, things have been probably happening since the window closed last year. But for what it's worth, Sammy Mockbell of the Daily Mail and for the sports column has said Declan Rice, Musa Diaby, Wilfred Zaha and Mark Gurhey are on the Mikel Arteta six-man wish list as Arsenal prepare to spend big in the summer in a bid to close the gap on title rivals Man City. You don't know my thoughts, people. I think what we can do, as much as bringing in players, evidently you can never have too many good players. We obviously need upgrades for as good as we've done this season, is on the coaching front. Defensively, we could sign the best defenders in their prime of all time. If we don't improve our outlook defensively, it doesn't matter. You're not going to see them to the best potential. You know, it's like buying a tool set and using the tools incorrectly, or not better yet, not fully comprehending the full capabilities of a certain tool, really. Then you won't be able to use it to its full potential, really. You need to know what you're doing, regardless. How many of you have seen in your own jobs people, or go back to school, how many people had the best, the best books, the best this, the best that, the other, but they didn't know how to read. They didn't know simple things. If you ain't got competencies, it's a myth. Anyways, Bayern Leverkusen winger Musa Diaby has emerged as a top attacking target for Arteta. We've forever been linked with him. The Arsenal manager is also targeting a centre-back and two central midfielders, as we've seen with the injury where Saliba's concerned. As great as Granit Xhaka and Partey are concerned, I think they can be part of the squad, but we are probably missing a trip, not upgrading or bringing in, for me, an 8 and a number 6. Let me know where you lot feel. I don't know if we'll go more for an 8 or a 6 or Partey or Xhaka. I think we need a scenario where if Xhaka is not available or he's not the best option, or if we can get an upgrade to play with Partey and they complement each other, great. Likewise, I am starting to think now, especially as we play a lot of games, we're trying to be a team that aspires for a lot of things. So there's a lot of games. One thing you can say about Xhaka is he's one of the most durable players probably in world football in the league in terms of forever being available. Partey isn't that. So is Arteta thinking about, you know what, he always turns up to work. Maybe I should find Declan Rice to play in that 6. Or maybe he wants to rework a Declan Rice to play him to Partey. Either way, I think we need the best of both worlds and the ability to do that, such as our pursuits of Declan Rice and Caicedo. Beginning to rain outside. We've been linked with Lavia. Now Southampton have 4 games left, or 5 games to decide their fate. But if they go down, you'd imagine Lavia keeps it moving and either goes to Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, the clubs that have been linked with him, really, and could be available at cut price, because I'm sure he would push for a move away where, in an ideal world, they might even say go out on loan to a Prem side and we'll get promoted and bring you back. But that's FIFA stuff. Probably needs to be playing top division football if he wants to go to with Belgium, better yet, to Euros 2024. We've got to remember there's Euros next year. Arsenal will sanction, better yet, let's pause this. I hate the fact that these just will start playing. Sorry about that. Arsenal will sanction a costly summer recruitment drive to close the gap on Manchester City, with France winger Musa Diaby emerging as a lead target for Mikel Arteta. And it's nice that our success to dud ratio with signings has been a lot better. The jury's still out on Tavares and Lokonga. At least they have resale value. Trossard has worked. Jorginho has worked. Kirill jury's still out. Hopefully, more so see in seasons to come. Hopefully, Jesus and Zinchenko have worked. Jury's still out on Fabio Vieira. But again, we've taken the gambles that have kind of been low risk versus when we brought Pepe in for big money and Willian and things like that. It says we're committed to strengthening the squad ahead of next season as we look to keep the pace with Man City and ensure we are equipped for the long-awaited return to the Champions League. It's understood Arteta wants a new centre-back, possibly 2 central midfielders and a versatile attacker. Bayern Leverkusen forward Musa Diaby is believed to be of serious interest to Arsenal. Arsenal will I'm reading the same thing there. The 23-year-old has had an excellent season, scoring 14 goals so far, adding to his tally of 17 last term. Arteta wants to add further depth to his attacking options with Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, Leandro Trossard, and Reece Nelson, his main options in attacking midfield. The RB is likely to cost in excess of 50 million, but the Gunners will face competition from the former PSG star's signature for his signature with Man United, Newcastle, Real Madrid all linked. I don't think Madrid will go for him. Zaha is out of contract at the end of the season and is also a consideration for Arsenal, but they want to pursue a move for the RB before exploring a potential free transfer for the Crystal Palace star. Their expected move to sign a new forward is set to be fueled by the expected departure of Nelson, who Mail Sport can reveal has rejected the offer of a new contract. Now, I don't know how many offers we've given him, and obviously, we'll get into that. But in negotiation, if you're buying a car or you're selling a car, do you accept the first offer given? So I don't know how many offers have been given for Nelson. There's probably been indirect talk since the stuff with Bournemouth or before that. The first documented offer is very rarely accepted. So maybe that's just negotiations going on. But at the same time, if you're Nelson, despite the fact of Arteta's been rating you since the academy days, in the minutes been given in your squad role, you have done relatively well this season. You're an Arsenal lad. We're going to be in the Champions League. When fit, you've shown that you can play a role. You're comfortable here. You got your boys here and things. He could stay. But despite me thinking that, people, when you flip it on its head, can you say it would be not necessarily the right option? Can you say it's the wrong option for Reece Nelson to leave? Because could you go somewhere you're more guaranteed first team football, which the way Brighton are moving, they've been linked with him. I don't know if that's a for certain there, but he's been linked with a bunch of clubs. And the one thing I would say I'm annoyed about is he's 23, whether he's going to make it here long term or not. We're letting money go out the door, really, which could be reinvested as it says here. We're trying to not only be in the Champions League this year, but have a decent run in it at least, and one day be able to win it. And obviously, you want to go one better than where the league looks like it is right now, with City unfortunately beating West Ham. So yeah, I can't blame him if he's rejected one. And apparently, there's growing belief the forward will leave at the end of the season when his contract expires. I can't say it'd be the wrong option to leave and remove yourself, because when you think of Reece Nelson, you do think of Arsenal, and sometimes you've got to make them tough decisions to get to where you go. As you know, the way no two individuals' journeys are the same. How Saka's got to become Saka isn't how Nelson is going to be the best footballer he can be. So we'll have to see. But anything's a possibility, I guess. It remains to be seen whether Arsenal make Nelson an improved offer before his deal expires in June. But his first team chances will be limited at the Emirates in the future. Didn't he say a few months ago that if they offer me something, I will stay? So it all depends. We are getting to that season where there might be some truth in these rumours, but also a lot of things are going to be panned out. So we'll have to see. But not every Haylender is going to make it here. We're going to have to deal with the future of Balogun, potentially Nelson. Obviously, Charlie Patino has made clear he wants to leave. We've got a lot of contracts until 2025 to sort out if we haven't already, So we'll have to see. Brighton are interested and will make Nelson a formal offer, though there are other interested parties in the Premier League and abroad. The West Ham captain, Declan Rice, is the Gunners' priority target in central midfield. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts and smash the like button for people. I can't say going down the Premier League route hasn't served us well. Definitely, Arteta's learned from bringing in Willian and Cedric Suarez, and we fared a lot better now with the Premier League players that have been brought in. Zaha on a free wouldn't kill the pathway. I don't think it's the right signing necessarily, but I don't think it's a wrong one. Mark Gurley would be fantastic competition / depth and make Arsenal fans sleep a lot easier if and when there's the inevitable injuries, loss of form and suspensions that comes with being a footballer. Declan is open to joining Arsenal. Now they have qualified for the next season's Champions League, but the Hammers' 100 million valuation of the England international could yet prove a stumbling block. Southampton's teenage midfielder Romeo Lavia is also of interest, while the Gunners remain keen on Caicedo. At centre-back, Gurley has impressed Arsenal's recruitment specialist this season, but the Gunners are one of many Premier League teams, including Tottenham, keen on the England international this summer. As they said, England international there. He's captain Crystal Palace a lot of the time. He's a quality player, I feel, and he's an important player, and I'm sure he's on the contract for a decent amount of time. I don't know Gurley's contract, but he's not going to come cheap. I don't want Palace to go down. Definitely not, because that affects the Congo, and I like Palace. But relegation, I won't say it's not a possibility, but it's an improbability for Crystal Palace. So their hands are not really tied. For Gurley, I'm sure he would jump at the chance to play for Arsenal with what we're doing, with us being a bigger club, unfortunately, Crystal Palace fans, then you lot, with us doing the English thing, with what Arteta is doing for the individual players and developing them, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, everyone, Granit, etc. but there's a Euros there. You know, I don't think it would cost you your place, but it could cost you your place if you move to Arsenal, get less football, don't look as good as you do at Crystal Palace. So there's a lot for a lot of footballers to consider, people. So we have to see. With Saka having agreed a new long-term contract and the club in talks with William Saliba over an improved deal, it is gearing up to be an expensive summer for the Gunners as they look to build on this successive season. I mean, it comes with the territory. There's a lot of contracts to sort out, a lot of outgoings, a lot of incomings. And, you know, this is one summer that if we're asking the players to go to the next level, if we don't win this league and say, look at the fine margins, I think Arteta and Edu have, because I think the January signings have been well, but you could argue prior to Kyrgios looking all right against Chelsea, maybe you looked weak at right-sided centre-back if Saliba got injured. Obviously, you look at a couple of performances where players have done well and stepping in where there's been injuries, but you know, Rob Holding in the lineup at this moment has indirectly cost us. Obviously, we saw last season with relying on Cedric, El Nene, and Holding, unfortunately, in certain moments, with the greatest of respect to these players. You know, I look at the United game in September, and we needed to do a lot better from a tactical point of view, but we rocked up to Old Trafford, a ground that we don't travel well to, and despite the fact of seeing my team win a league there, we don't pick up too many 3 points over them sides. And despite our away form being well, you know, that's a ground among a couple typical ones that we didn't win at. And maybe if we had a centre mid, having got in Douglas Luiz, then, you know, we might have looked better. And you look at the Caicedo saga, the Douglas Luiz saga, we need to go on better and make sure all the areas are plugged. I know we're not going to address every area. And as fans, and I'm sure as a manager, there's always something you could want. But we need to make significant progress. For me, that's in central midfield with 1 or 2 additions. That is at right back as well. Competition / an addition to Benjamin White to cope with things like Tomiyasu being injured, because as great as Tomiyasu is and a valued member of the squad, the best quality you can have is being available, especially if we're going to try and be a team to assert ourselves in major competitions domestically and internationally. So we need to do there. Centre mid, I'd be open to another winger to cope with the burden on Saka's shoulders. I wouldn't be against bringing in a more physical striker to give us another dynamic, a Giroud mold, Adebayor at Monaco. You know, there are some strikers. There isn't a striker I could, beyond the ones that are going to cost a lot, that are in the public, where you could say even they've got question marks. I think it's one where if scouts could do their job, find us a cute and clever number 9, really. There are some number 9s in France doing all right, like that lad at Lens. I think he's been linked with Aston Villa. I can't remember his name. I don't know if he's the guy, and he is physical, but he's not really there. You look at Dia over there in Italy doing all right as well. And obviously there's outgoings. Unfortunately for me, because I'm a big Smith-Rowe fan, signed a new deal last summer. What's gone on, man? However, the North London club will also look to offload some of their fringe players with the likes of Balogun, Tierney, Rob Holding, and Smith-Rowe, set to attract interest this summer. That doesn't say Arsenal are selling. That says there's going to be interest to chat. Now, Tierney's a good player, deserves to be starting week in, week out at another club. That's where that's coming from. Balogun's done his thing in France, 17, 18 league goals and counting. Rob Holding, it's a bit different for you. I guess you could get a Premier League move. I don't know where that is. Smith-Rowe is a very young, attractive footballer with resale value, and he showed last season what he could do. So naturally, these guys are going to be linked with moves away from the football club, really, because they're either not playing, not having the season they were having last year, or unclear if they could have a future here with other players here, or in Rob Holding's case, unfortunately, and I hate to do it as much as I like him, just clearly not of the ilk as to where we need to go. It's just the unfortunate thing about life, really. Some people are not going to make it. Some people are not going to go the distance. Now, apparently, the Brighton CEO suggested it will cost a fortune to buy his player this summer in mid-Arsenal links. Probably a bit of humour regarding that. Apparently, Mitoma will cost a fortune. It probably will be a handsome profit. Now, I can't lie, it done me, because I thought they were going to mention Caicedo there. Gabby Vega, who's another player I would like in addition to Zubamendi in La Liga, is doing quite well over there for Celta Vigo. The young man in his footballing career. Apparently, it's now very likely that Gabby Vega will go to the Premier League. He likes Arsenal. I mean, he looks like a decent player. We're doing this youngster thing. Arteta's Spanish, you're Spanish. Get it cracking, really, and develop, really. Again, there's a Euros to consider. You've got a lot of stability over there at Celta Vigo, having just emerged really this season. Not in terms of emergence this season, but Zubamendi is, again, there's a Euros to think about. It might cost you your place or boost your chances of getting called up. Whether it does that, you know, obviously 9 times out of 10, if you're playing a lot for your club and you're doing well, you might carry that form internationally. It doesn't always work like that, but you get the point. A Leeds player, Tyler Adams, who apparently the Athletic said a few months ago that we've got an admiration for. Allegedly, Sevilla and Hoffenheim are the most interested clubs in Tyler Adams at the moment. Should Leeds be relegated from the Premier League, however, the player's preference is to remain in England. Arsenal and Newcastle are monitoring the situation, people. So we'll have to see how that goes. We've also been linked with Malcolm, once of Barcelona, Bordeaux, and I think over there in Russia. A former sports director, people, has spoken, and he said, Arsenal have the money to pay for such a big transfer. I don't know if there's any substantive interest, but Malcolm would like to play a bigger role at Arsenal than, for example, at PSG. After such a solid season, he could be useful in the Premier League. If you compare him, for example, with Anthony from Manchester United, then Malcolm is definitely not worse. I mean, you know, it seems over them sides, Russia, Ukraine, that they're not really happy with the money that Anthony went to United for. Because I remember the Shakhtar Donetsk guy using him as an example, kind of echoing similar words when they were trying to sell Mudryk, really. A former Manchester United winger said, I guess a Russian international said Malcolm would be good for Arsenal. Now, it was under previous scouting teams, coaches and directors and stuff, but we have been linked with him before, and we do have an admiration for him, or at least a willingness for his talents. It did look like we could move for him once, but things change. I think this one's dead and buried. Obviously, he's a winger that we've had some level of interest. He's doing quite well over there in Russia. I don't know if he's got the best agents because he's moved quite frequently, and you don't remember the circus as to when he joined Barcelona. But for what it's worth, I think a Malcolm move is possible and it would be a good fit for Arsenal. The main thing is that it should be concrete interest and not empty talk. And I'm sure there's a lot of empty talk. Everyone's interested in everyone in the transfer world, but putting bids down and following through is a different thing. The team is very young. He'll certainly be a player in the starting lineup. Arsenal's a step forward. I don't know if he'll be in the starting lineup. I think he understands everything, and this thought motivates him. His level is comparable to the level of Arsenal players. He should not have any problems. In addition, his experience will certainly be useful to the team. He will help the youth. And I mean, despite his young years, he's been through a lot, so it makes sense. Paul Brown of I assume, Give Me Sport, has spoken about Mason Mount. It would be a really interesting signing for them. He would dovetail nicely with Odegaard, or the two of them could get in the way a little bit. Are they too similar? Would he play deeper in midfield and have to change his role slightly? I think Mason Mount, if that was to happen, has more capacity, not than Odegaard, to score goals. But in my team, I'd rather Odegaard play in the Xhaka role and conduct the team. And he's more of my sort of footballer I'd want as the nucleus. And Mason Mount, I just really, really demand you to just get involved in somewhat get the numbers that Odegaard's got this season, for example, really, but they could do both. And I'm not against Mount. I think there's a lot of upside to signing Mason Mount. I do think, however, with us immediately needing to improve, I think he can tie in and be well, but I don't think he troubles anyone immediately for their starting 11 spot, like Caicedo might, like Declan Rice might, for example, or Zubimendi, in my opinion. We don't really know where Mount sees himself playing positionally in the future, but I think that the chance to work with Arteta in the Arsenal team would appeal to anyone at the moment, especially to a young English player who's approaching his prime. He did say in 2020, I've played in midfield my whole life. I've varied between playing a bit more forward in the 10 position, but I've always kind of seen myself as a number 8. Well, that's of interest to us, and we all know, probably a victim of his versatility. He's played out wide for Chelsea and obviously for England at times as well. So don't get twisted. There'll be times you'll probably have to do that. Obviously, for Mikel Arteta, really and truly. Kind of ending that though, people, and looking at goal.com, because they kind of do a roundup of any sort of news, people. Big up you lot. Don't forget to offer your opinions, smash the like button, subscribe, and the rest. We're competing with Bayern Munich for Fulham's João Paulinho, decent little combative number 6. I want Ivan Fresnadar. He's drawn interest from Newcastle and AC Milan. Apparently, they're competing with Arsenal for his signature. We all saw that Charlie Patino wants to leave Arsenal permanently, courtesy of Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein, etc. I don't really think we're in for Ollie Watkins. I think he's someone that's previously been scouted, and he's close to signing a new deal, allegedly with Aston Villa. Allegedly, we face competition from Bayern Munich for his signature. I don't think we should sell Xhaka, and I don't think Arteta will force the boat out unless an offer too good to refuse is put on Arsenal's doorstep. But allegedly, we're open to offers for Granit Xhaka, Tierney, and Balogun. We're preparing a Mason Mount offer. PSG are eyeing Bukayo Saka. This is the guy, ironically, I was talking about, Openda. He's doing all right at Lens, really, the 23-year-old. Maybe he won't cost that much. Ryan Gravenberch, we've joined that race to sign him. Kante's not looking to leave Chelsea in the summer. There were reports that we offered him a 2-year deal. We've spoken on Zaha. Previously, we've been linked with Victor Rohr. I'd love for him to sign for the club. Newcastle are forever going to be linked with Kieran Tierney. We've been linked with Declan Rice, as I imagine you know. We've been linked with Bayern Munich's Missouri and obviously Zubimendi as well. And that just reiterates from April what we found out and read on the 4th of May, that Arsenal are interested in Moussa Diaby, and Balogun's forever going to draw interest from a whole host of clubs. So let me know your thoughts, opinions, and things we've talked about, talking points I've brought out. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Have a great day. Check out the rest of the content. One love.
There's always just that active red flag, defending. I think it's like